Hello, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking all of you for joining the town hall tonight. As a mom to an SCN2A warrior, I know very well how hard it is to fit anything extra in on top of your daily obligations, but we're very happy that you're here with us. My name is Leah Myers, and I'm one of the founders and the executive director for the Family's SCN2A Foundation. But my official title will always be mom. Go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda, the agenda. You were right. There you go. Thanks. So here's our agenda for tonight's town hall call. You're going to hear from me, Jeff, Morgan, and Melody. But I also want to point out that we have several other foundation leaders on the call tonight, including Amanda, who's running the show, Angie Weaver, Helen, Vanessa, Jenny. If you could all just raise your hand or say hi in chat to let everyone know who you are, feel free to have a conversation with these leaders in chat. So the overarching theme of tonight's presentation is participation is power. And we have plenty of time saved for Q&A after the presentation, but like I said, go ahead and put your questions into chat at any time, and if we can answer them before the end, we will. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. So many of you have had the opportunity to meet Ben, but for those of you that haven't, this is my son, Ben, serial hugger, AKA the one. Ben turned 15 this past fall, and that in itself is a huge accomplishment given how sick he was as a baby and the chances that the doctors gave us that he would even make it to his second birthday. But making it to another birthday is not how we want to live. We want so much more for Ben, for his life, and for our life as a family, and for your families. And that's why we started the foundation. It is why we fund research and why we choose action every single day. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And for this, I'm going to need a volunteer. Can I get a hand up? I'm just going to need someone to come off of mute and read this aloud for me. It's our mission statement. Any volunteers? Because I'm going to call on you if you don't. All right. Jen Harvey, it's you.
I was going to volunteer. I was just being
I
shy.
figured you might.
our, our mission is to accelerate research, build community, and advocate to improve the lives of those affected by SCN2A related disorders around the world.
Thank you so much. That's perfect. Well said. So the board, staff, and volunteers, we live by this mission, and every single thing we do is aligned with it. It drives our decision making, and it leads to our incredible impact. The board starts every single meeting with a mission moment. It could be big or small, just something that we may have witnessed in our group or maybe experienced ourselves. And today I'm going to start by sharing a mission moment with you, one that was submitted by one of our SCN2A families. A year after learning of Carson's SCN2A diagnosis, we attended a Family's SCN2A Foundation conference in Columbus, Ohio. As the day began, the second person we met was a man who asked to sit at our table. We soon noticed that many other families were lining up to speak with him. So I leaned over to read his name tag, only to realize he was the CEO of a big pharmaceutical company. When the line ended, I introduced myself as Carson's mom. That moment marked a turning point in our lives. What once felt like an unknown and uncertain future suddenly included a path forward, drug studies, data collection, and our first real opportunity for seizure control. With those advances came something just as meaningful, communication. Today, our 22-year-old SCN2A warrior tells us what he wants to eat for dinner, what he did at work, and who he is talking to. These are things that we never imagined would be possible. Most importantly, we now have hope. We are deeply grateful to the Family's SCN2A Foundation for its outreach and for creating the connections that bring families together with professional and industry leaders, changing lives in ways we could only dream of. So isn't that an amazing story? And it started by Carson's family choosing action and participating in the annual conference. Okay, next slide, please. So I've been tasked with talking about our goals for this year, 2026. But I can't do that without first recognizing that 2025 was a milestone year for the foundation. It was our 10th year and our most impactful yet. We made significant progress across every single area of our mission, accelerating research, investing nearly $2 million into research grants and scientific projects last year alone, expanding our team to meet the growing needs of our community, launching the Dragonfly study to generate the data needed to move therapies into clinical trials. And we also strengthen collaborations across disease groups because partnership is how we move faster. Our community continued to grow in powerful ways. More than 200 new families joined FamilieSCN2A this year, last year, 2025. We launched a new, more comprehensive website, and we brought together over 400 families and professionals at our summer conference. And our advocacy translated into real, tangible wins. We opened our second multidisciplinary center in Denver, Colorado, successfully initiated an ICD-10 code for SCN2A related disorders, and helped secure SCN2A's inclusion in a newborn screening pilot, an important step towards earlier diagnosis and better outcomes. None of this happened in isolation. Every bit of progress this past year, was made possible because families showed up, participating in research and data collection, fundraising, advocacy, community building. 10 years in, 2025 showed what's possible when families lead the way, and it sets the stage for what's ahead. You can go to the next slide, please. The 2025 wins weren't endpoints, they were proof points. Proof that when families lead, when science is aligned with urgency, and when we invest strategically, progress accelerates. Reaching our 10-year milestone gave us a moment to reflect, but it also made something very clear. The window to act is now. Our next 3-year strategic plan is intentionally very ambitious. It's designed to move faster, go deeper, and deliver impact where it matters the most, getting therapies into the clinic, improving clinical care today, and ensuring families are not waiting in uncertainty tomorrow. This isn't just a plan on paper, it's a roadmap shaped by data, by lived experience, and by lessons of the last decade. It builds directly on the momentum that we've created, and it outlines what we will accomplish next together. Please check out the full plan. It's now on our website, and you can scan this QR code here to get to it. Next slide, please. We can also put the links in chat for those of you that didn't get your cameras out in time. So Ray Bradbury said, "Hope is ineffective without action." At the FamilieSCN2A Foundation, hope begins with our families, but it's shaped by what each of you chooses to do with it. When you show up, you fundraise, you share your story, or you lend your expertise, hope stops being an idea and starts becoming progress. Your participation funds the research that moves discoveries out of the lab and towards real treatments. It strengthens the clinicians caring for our children today. It builds a community where families no longer feel isolated in the hardest moments of their lives. Because of you, hope becomes action, and action becomes momentum. This is how we move faster together toward better care, real treatments, and ultimately cures. I now have the honor of handing this over to Jeff Cottrell, our interim CSO. Take it away, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you, Leah, and hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to provide a science update to you all tonight. So in terms of how the field is developing and moving towards therapeutics and how we're playing a role in that and how this community is actually genuinely helping and where your contributions are pushing the needle towards therapeutics. So first off, since this is my first town hall meeting, we wanted to give a little background to introduce me and who I am, how I got here in the first place. So I'm a neuroscientist. I got my PhD in neuroscience from MIT way back in 2004, and I've spent the last 20 plus years at various different types of organizations that have all been focused on developing new treatments for brain disorders, from biotech to big pharma, to academic groups, and then more recently here as in patient advocacy groups. Now, while I just joined as interim CSO here in the fall, So I have been associated to some degree with the foundation for almost a decade now. So you can see on the bottom left there, there's a photograph of when the foundation visited when I was at the Broad Institute back in 2017. So ever since then, I've been a official or unofficial advisor of the foundation. And so once you're in the foundation, you're part of the foundation forever. That's how it's worked for me. And so on a personal end, I have two daughters, and you can see them in the bottom right photograph circled there, and they actually helped to volunteer at the conference in 2023. And on top of that, I have two kitties. I love to make music, and on a controversial note, go Patriots. And we should probably go to the next slide at that point. Okay, so let's talk about science because that's what's actually important and it's actually exciting here. So first off, I want to provide a little bit of framework for how the research progresses from the lab and ultimately into new treatments, and to show how the foundation is contributing to this entire process, and also how your participation is helping this entire process. So first off, the basic research, which you've probably heard a lot about, it happens mostly in academic labs. And this creates sort of the fundamental platform or the foundation and the ideas for the new treatments. And so the new treatments are then typically developed through pharmaceutical and biotech companies, through what's called drug discovery, which are when new treatments are ultimately developed and tested in animal models and cellular models and things like that. And then they're progressed into clinical trials that happens in patients. And then ultimately, these get to patients as new therapeutics once they're approved. And so again, we're helping to advance this entire process, and your help is instrumental along the way. So next slide, please, Amanda. So in terms of the basic research, you've probably seen a slide like this before. I'll continue to show it here. So there's been a really massive, almost an explosion of research that's been focused on SCN2A over the past couple decades. And this shows the number of papers in this area using SCN2A as a search term that have been published in the last 25 years plus, and you can see there's just a huge increase in this area. So in terms of the foundation, as someone who's been involved in this for a long time, one of the things I really like to point out is that the foundation has really nucleated or pulled together an incredible community of researchers. So it's really quite remarkable how collaborative, engaged, dedicated they are, and how focused they are towards developing new therapies and new discoveries for SCN2A related disorders. And in the academic world, it's actually quite a remarkable achievement to have a group like this working so collaboratively. So it's really been a great thing to be involved in this process as well. And this is largely because of the really high quality of the work happening within the foundation has really pulled together this excellent group of researchers. So, and this happens in part through the organization of the annual conference, which pulls together this organization of researchers into a single group to discuss their recent discoveries and pull together ways we can advance those towards therapeutics. And then on top of that, we've directly funded research through these different grant mechanisms named here. So this has actually helped directly advance research in this space. And so the next slide, I'll go a little bit over some of the details about some of the grants that have been awarded in this past year. And so, but to date, so the foundation has committed about $7 million to SCN2A research, which is really extraordinary amount of money that has advanced research and development for SCN2A related disorders. So in this past year, we continue to support the development of new researchers coming into new space with this Action Potential grant. And this year, the award went to Morgan Robinson from the Yang Lab at Purdue University. So he's an excellent young researcher, and his work is focused on developing new therapies, gene therapy approaches for SCN2A, and he's using these CRISPR tools to directly repair SCN2A variants in animal models and cell lines as a first step towards bringing them towards patients. So a Park Family Grant Award was given this year to Ashleen Williams and her colleagues at the University of Iowa. And her work is focused on characterizing the effects of loss of function variants on rodent behavior. And lastly, in a new award this year, we awarded a grant that is focused on helping new SCN2A therapeutic programs at biotech companies. So getting SCN2A related programs off the ground at biotech companies. And this first one went to Mazi Therapeutics. And what they're working on is antisense oligonucleotides, which is a drug discovery approach. And they're starting an SCN2A program using our funding. So these grant awards have really done a tremendous job at spurring new discoveries and starting to advance things into drug discovery and developing new therapeutics. So next slide, please. So, okay, so now the next slide, the next step in this process is drug discovery, and this is where the research is advanced into new treatment options and then developed ultimately to be tested into animals before going into humans. So what I'm showing here on the right is this is a current pipeline of new drugs. Some of the programs at some of the research organizations or research companies that we're working with, they're being developed that directly target SCN2A expression or function. So by directly modifying gene expression or function. So the programs that are in this circled bucket here at the top, circled in green, these are at what's called the drug discovery stage. So with these companies, we're actively working with them to assist them in this drug discovery phase in multiple ways. So first off, these advances in basic research that I've talked about before enables the entire process. So this couldn't happen without that basic research. But then on top of that, like with the academic researchers I talked about before, this foundation is also really doing a wonderful job at organizing scientists within this biotech community. They are actively working with academic researchers and coming to the conference and being involved in the discussions as a single community to help advance these new treatments. In addition, one of the other things we're working on is making research tools readily available to these companies, such as animal models, cellular models, and developing new ways to test SCN2A protein function. So next slide, please, Amanda. Now, the next step in the process before therapy is clinical trials. And as these programs continue to advance, they'll ultimately have to be advanced into this clinical development. So now in order to go into the clinic with a potential drug, a company that's doing this requires a clinical population. So they need to know and understand the clinical presentation of the individuals that will ultimately be tested in these clinical trials. Now, this sort of thing takes a tremendous amount of money, a tremendous amount of effort, and it's a lot of effort for a company to do. And this is where the foundation and your contributions to the research have been enormously helpful. So having a population of patients that is already characterized makes it possible for these companies to start these clinical trials. So without this clinical population that's already well characterized, they might not actually do these sort of clinical developments or might not even get into this space at all. So this is where the what the Dragonfly study is. This is why it's so important that your contributions to studies such as this one are essential for progressing drug discovery and development into the clinic. So the Dragonfly study is a collection of data on individuals that will be used directly for patient selection in clinical trials, and the more data we have, the better. And then so Morgan will talk a bit next about how to get involved in Dragonfly clinical study and the progress on that front after me. So next slide, please. So before I go on, we want to just comment on this one thing. So this is the entire SCN2A pipeline as it's presented on the website. So in the previous slides, I talked about the SCN2A programs, which are directly targeting the SCN2A gene itself. So just to be clear, there are a number of companies, other companies that are developing therapies that are focused on more general populations, such as seizures and autism, more general indication spaces. Now, these are very applicable to the SCN2A population, so they could be relevant for impacting symptoms in a meaningful way, but they have a more general mechanism than directly targeting the SCN2A gene. So they just want to be clear about that distinction, and we're always happy to answer questions about the distinction or any specific programs in this pipeline. All right, last slide. So I just want to end to say that, as I covered here today, there has been a truly remarkable amount of progress in understanding SCN2A related disorders and in developing new treatments for these disorders as well. And this has been very much empowered by the SCN2A Foundation and critically your involvement in it. So having such an organized and passionate patient advocacy group such as this one has really helped us process in so many ways. And going back to that photo from 2017, I never would have thought this field would be where it is now. And this foundation has done a great job of helping to get it to where it is today. So with that, I think I'll hand it over to Morgan.
Yeah, awesome. So just to hone in on the theme, your participation in research really matters. And I'm just going to spend the next few minutes really telling you the things you could do today that can contribute to that momentum. The first one is our newsletter. This is a monthly email that goes out to all registered attendees, and it provides full comprehensive updates on research, advocacy events, anything that has to do with research funding and the various opportunities that you could become a part of as a part of this community. So you can take your phone, scan the QR code. We're a little QR code happy, so please let us know if you didn't get any time and we can send the links in the chat. But being a part of our newsletter is the most up-to-date and the most recent way you can obtain updates regarding research for the SCN2A community. Next slide, please. That comes with that is the creation of a clinical research ID. And I don't want to sound like a broken record because I know we just had that holiday survey, but creation of a CRID is super, super important because this allows researchers and scientists to share your data, share the data of your loved one's variant impacted with an SCN2A related disorder. You can kind of think of a CRID as like a driver's license. You have your driver's license that has all of your personal information, but you can drive your car to any state in the country. Much like a CRID, you can give this CRID ID to various researchers and clinicians, and they can share your loved one's information across multiple research sites and states. So you can also scan this QR code here. This brings you to the crid.org website. You can spend 3 minutes to easily create a CRID and have one for your loved one. Next slide, please. And then that is super important because now our patient natural history study, our Dragonfly patient registry, requires the creation of a CRID for participation. So this is the QR code to join our natural history study, and participation in this study directly drives research forward. Just like Jeff had said, this natural history study provides all the data and the backbone that influence the decisions that drug developers and biotech companies make when developing clinical therapeutics. You can scan this QR code here. It will bring you right to the IAMware platform where you can go in and put in your child's information or your loved one's information to get signed up and become a part of this natural history study. It launched in the fall of 2024, and it has created so much momentum for us. Next slide, please. And then here is just a general QR code for our new up-to-date website, our how to participate in research tab. This, as you can see, has a lot of the same things I've already covered, including getting research ready, types of research, therapeutic interventions. This is a lot more basic. If you haven't heard of research before or are really interested on what it all really means, this is a great place to start considering if you want to continue to be involved. Next slide. And then last but not least, this slide shows you to the actual SCN2A research tab within the website. So we've got how to participate. We've got the research roadmap where you can go and see and delve into that pipeline that Jeff had shown earlier. And then also clinical trials and research opportunities. Here we have listed out everything that is synonymous with that pipeline, including more details about all the various interventional clinical trials and some non-interventional or other natural history studies that are available and currently recruiting for your participation. This also has a tab on research funding, key publications that are coming out, and a note on patient-centered drug development. The last thing I will shout out on the next slide is personally my favorite resource of all. This is our family research checklist that we created, and it's really a one-stop shop to help you organize everything that has to do with research, whether you've heard me talk about this all before or whether this is your first town hall ever. I really recommend scanning this QR code to download this PDF checklist. It gives you a hierarchical list of all the things you can do to get involved, and then once you do it, you can just check it off and keep it in your back pocket. On the right side is really a documentation page. This serves as an organizational tool for you where you can write down all your passwords and your email. You can mark the progress of your child's participation in the natural history study. You can also mark down the variant classification too for your loved one. And I think this resource really just covers everything in its full breadth. And I hope this gave you an idea of some of the things you can do right now within the next 5 minutes that really allow you to contribute to the momentum and the great work this foundation has been doing. And ultimately, it is to provide hope and to ultimately provide a cure for individuals impacted with an SCN2A related disorder. So with that, I have the pleasure to pass it on to Melody Kaiser. She's going to talk about another way we are contributing to the advancement of drug development through advocacy.
Thank you so much, Morgan, and hello to everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I get the great news to share some really exciting information about one of many advocacy opportunities that we're working on this year. And this is called an externally led patient-focused drug development meeting with the FDA. Next slide, please. So before I talk about the ELP-FDD meeting, I do want to share a checklist of some advocacy opportunities that various groups have to engage with the FDA. So some of the smaller groups or newly starting out groups, maybe they're just engaging with FDA on social media or LinkedIn and following those updates and trying to update FDA staff by connecting with them. Their FDA holds webinars and trainings that staff can attend. We've done all that. We've done that too. We've engaged at conferences. We find the FDA staff. We talk to them. We ask them what they need. We've engaged in that. There's something called a CPIM meeting, which is another opportunity for connecting with FDA. It's a higher level advocacy. We've done that. We've hosted a patient listening session. And the one thing that was left was the PFDD meeting, patient-focused drug development. And I'm really excited to announce that we are hosting one. So next slide, please. So mark your calendars. This date is official as of this afternoon. We finally got confirmation from the FDA, and I just updated the website today. We are hosting our ELP-FDD meeting on Friday, October 23rd, 2026. It will be a live meeting in Washington, D.C. that the community is invited to attend in person, but additionally, it is going to be live streamed. And so any who can't come to D.C. or for whatever reason or would prefer to watch it online, that's an opportunity as well. And there'll be engagement opportunities. It's not just watching, you can actually participate live in polling. So super excited that some folks will be able to join us. And you can scan this QR code. I also it's going to take you to our PFDD page. I also put the link in the chat, and you can always just go to our website and use the handy dandy search bar and type in FDA and you'll find it. So you don't even have to remember PFDD. Okay, next slide, please. So I just want to talk a little bit about what an ELP-FDD meeting is. So externally led means that a group outside of the FDA is hosting it. Sometimes the FDA hosts PFDD meetings, but they can't host as many meetings as they would like to attend. So they have created a pathway for advocacy groups to take over that role, and we host it and we invite them instead of the other way around. Patient-focused means that the main topic of the meeting is actually just to get the patient and caregiver perspective. Jeff's doing an amazing job, and Morgan doing an incredible job of gathering the data and the science. And there may in the future be the opportunity to have a science-focused drug development meeting with the FDA or the equivalent. But in this case, this is an advocacy-run event, patient-focused, and families, caregivers. And drug development, Morgan and Jeff have already told you about the drug development process, but this is really important because the information that the families share with the FDA actually directly will influence the drug development process. So it's super important, and it's an advocacy win if we can get that information to them and really influence those future drug development opportunities. Next slide, please. So why is this important? The FDA actually requires medical product developers to consider the patient voice during a lot of different parts of the regulatory process. So hosting an actual formal ELP-FDD meeting is going to give the FDA direct patient perspectives, and that's going to help the agency guide their clinical trial design and evaluation. So not only are they going to use it when they're looking at applications for new drugs or new products that might help families with SCN2A related disorders, but also help actually design the clinical trials based on your input. So it's really critical patient voice meeting. And the only opportunity to do that is through advocacy. Biotech, pharma, they're not allowed to host these meetings. They're not allowed to influence these meetings. This is an advocacy only event, and I'm really, really proud and excited that we're going to be hosting one. Next slide, please. So again, goals of the meeting. This is directly from FDA. I'm not going to read it out loud because we can put the links in the chat, and I think the link's directly in the website. But it just tells you a little bit more about what FDA is hoping to get out of these meetings. It's really, really critical. Next slide, please. So who attends? A pretty big list of attendees, but I'm going to tell you in order who's most important. The most important people at these meetings are people who actually live with SCN2A related disorders and their caregivers and family members. They are the heart of this meeting. In addition to that, FDA representatives will come, some in person, some over Zoom. Other federal agency staff are going to attend because we're holding it in Washington, D.C. So like NIH or Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, other agencies that are interested in rare disorders. Some of our industry partners may attend. That includes, medical product developers, biotech, pharmaceutical leaders. Our researchers and scientists are invited. And our clinicians, of course, our doctors and other medical providers are invited. Our advocacy partners, we don't do this alone. We have lots of umbrella groups that are that take care of families with all the rare diseases, or our epilepsy friends, our autism friends, our other channelopathy friends. Lots of different advocacy partners may attend. Really interestingly, healthcare economists and payers may actually attend. So insurance companies or groups that help the pharmaceutical companies decide how much to charge for a new medication. I don't know if you follow the news, but the world's most expensive drug right now is a gene therapy for a rare disorder called MLD is the name of the disorder. And how they pick those prices and how that plays out comes from healthcare economists. And so they sometimes attend these meetings. And then it's actually open to the public. So any interested member is welcome to join. But we are going to be targeting our invitations to the list above. Next slide, please. So here's the question. How can you help? There's so many different ways that you can help. First, save the date and spread the word. Share the website, tell your friends, tell your family. Register to attend, either in person or virtually. The registration's not open yet, but we will definitely send out an announcement when that happens, and it will also be on the website. You can reach out to me through the website to sign up to be a speaker or a panelist. We'll have lots of different opportunities for the community to share their voice. Some of you will be actual speakers where you're on a panel and you're going to share your story in the room. Some of you may stand up in the room and answer questions or share comments open mic. Some of you are going to share on Zoom. You're going to put it right into the Zoom chat. Some of you are going to share by answering polls or telling us your priorities in pre-meeting surveys, and then also your priorities during the meeting. You can send me pictures and videos and keep in touch with Amanda and Leah and make sure that your stories are heard. Make sure you do those intake appointments or meetings with Amanda so that or other advocacy volunteers and other what are they, Amanda? I apologize. I know what are the wonderful team that you have of folks who are helping with the intakes? We have so many people.
Parent navigators.
Parent navigators. Thank you. I had it right on the tip of my tongue. I appreciate you. So making sure that you're sharing your stories so that when we're looking for speakers, we know who to reach out to. The FDA wants a diverse group of experiences. So not just age or genotype or phenotype, but they also want to know different people who have tried a clinical trial or maybe chose not to do a clinical trial and they want to know why, or people who have tried certain medications or not tried medications. So we'll have a list when we're working with our FDA partners for who they're looking for to hear from, and then Amanda and Leah will be able to help us figure out who to target. But you can also reach out directly to me and tell me that you're interested, and I'm keeping a list and meeting with folks. Oops, could we go back for 1 second? There we go. Thank you. Definitely joining Dragonfly, as Jeff and Morgan both mentioned, it's critically important. That's where we're getting some data to share with the FDA during this meeting. And it's also guiding our speaker selection and our panel selection so that we know what's the most important information we have to share, 'cause what's most important to the community. During the actual meeting, there'll be questions asked to the group. We'd love for you to answer those, polling questions and also direct questions. And then you can also submit. There'll be an open comment period before and after the meeting, as is required for any meeting with FDA, and you'll have the opportunity to submit any content, and that will be included in our final report, which is called a Voice of the Patient report. And then finally, this is Angie's department, but we'd love for any help with fundraising or donating to help pay for the event, or if you know of sponsors who might be interested in helping. Next slide, please. Okay, and so I mentioned the Voice of the Patient report. That is the final product. So at the end of the meeting, it is recorded, so they'll have a recording, but the main end product is something called a Voice of the Patient report, and the FDA is going to use that as a resource. Anytime that SCN2A is considered with the FDA, if there's a drug that's specifically targeting SCN2A, or if there are families with SCN2A who have participated in clinical trials or who may be considered for clinical trials, they can pull this reference and they can understand patient priorities. They can understand risk tolerance. It can really help them design these clinical trials, and it helps them make decisions about whether to approve or not approve, or delay, or get additional information from drug developers. It also helps them understand unmet needs. And most importantly, it ensures that the patient voice is present in all aspects of drug development. So what do I mean by that? For example, if a pharmaceutical company is coming to the FDA and said, we have this drug and we really want, we want you to grant us a clinical trial so that we can test this drug, and we think it will help families with SCN2A live better lives for their child. The first question the FDA is going to ask is this what the patients want? Is this what the families want? Are you meeting the needs that they have asked for? Is your drug targeting what's important to them? Are the risk benefits of your treatment in line with what they want? Are you sure you're representing the community that you're trying to target? And when they have the Voice of the Patient report and they've come to our meeting, they'll understand the community voice, and they can really help design those trials. Next slide, please. Fantastic. So again, what could this mean for the future? The improved clinical trials, clinically meaningful endpoints and biomarkers. So the endpoints are what a drug development company will use and what the FDA will rely upon to see if the intervention, if the drug or the treatment worked. And you want those to be meaningful to the families and meaningful to the community. So for example, if there was a drug that could reduce seizures by 25%, is that enough? Would that be life-changing for you? Would that be okay if it had minor side effects? Would that be okay if it had major side effects? What are you looking for? Is the change that the product could potentially give, is that something that's important to you? And also biomarkers, a way of measuring it. How would we measure that? Especially, we've talked about like inch stones and milestones. How do you measure that in the SCN2A community? Is it the standard way, or do we need special assessment tools or different ways of showing effectiveness? So it's really important that the FDA know that. And also, as Jeff was talking about in the drug development process, we are de-risking this for industry. We are making SCN2A much more desirable to study. We are helping them start and complete projects with programs with about SCN2A, and with potentially quicker trial design and FDA approval process based on getting this PFDD meeting done. So really positive impacts. It's a huge advocacy event, and just tremendous impact for the community. So I think one more slide, or is that's it. This is our QR code for the whole shebang. So thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to answering any questions.
Great job, everyone. Thank you so much. And I just put a note in the chat asking if anyone had any questions. But if you want, you could just take yourself off of mute and ask. You don't have to raise your hand. Any questions at all? Melody, I have a question just for the group. Approximately how much does the PFDD cost to put on?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but it can cost upwards of $100,000, especially for these in-person meetings, and also to make sure that we have the right technology to make sure that we're not just recording the meeting, but that we're hosting a live meeting that allows interaction. So, when the live polls go up, everybody from around the world that's affected by SCN2A will be invited to contribute their data, and we will have live time updates that FDA can see. So you answer a poll, and the next slide is showing your answers immediately. And that costs. Unfortunately, it's very expensive.
No, I
But
mean it's important to know. So this is a great opportunity to fundraise for something like this.
definitely. And if I could share just a quick example of why it's so important that we also have this meeting in person, in addition to having it just live stream. There are some things that the FDA needs to see, and drug developers and clinicians that need to see, and they can't see it on Zoom. I have attended multiple PFDD meetings in person and some on Zoom. And the Zoom ones are what you see as polished, right? You're seeing the speaker and the sound is right and everything like that. And I was at a particular meeting it was the GFPD. It's the Global Peroxisomal Family Disorder. I can't remember. It was an excellent PFDD, and it was encompassing multiple different disorders, similar to SCN2A in the sense of multiple different presentations. And while I was there, there was a young man who was nonverbal, and you could hear his feeding tube, his feeding pump going the whole time. And about every 30 seconds, he vocalized because that's how he communicates. And that never would have been captured on a Zoom only meeting, but he was standing right next to FDA, who heard and saw everything, and saw his mom trying to feed him, and saw and heard him communicating, and really got a much bigger sense of what his daily life is like. And that really is the goal. They want to leave knowing, like, what's a day in the life of a family living with the condition that they're interested in.
So
It's
important. Yeah, thank
so
you.
valuable. So
Any other questions? We're here to answer questions for you. So please take yourself off mute and just ask away. Wow, we did a really good job of explaining everything.
Oh,
Yeah. Amanda, do you want to put it on full screen so we can see everyone?
I can do that.
there is a comment in the chat from Judy.
Oh, Judy, yes. You bring your entire cheer squad to the PFDD. Oh no, I see what you're asking. You want to talk? Oh, yeah. Well, let's just make sure we have no questions on PFDD. Give you time to read the strategic plan. It's quite long. And
Well, with a few extra minutes, in 3 minutes,
slides.
people can get crids right now. If you don't already have one, you can by the end of this meeting.
Oh, we have a comment that it's very important comment actually. It's very, very important for the FDA to understand that mortality in SCN2A. And I agree. We lost 10 beautiful people in 2025, and have already lost 2 this year. So we are definitely going to make sure that the FDA understands that this is a very serious condition, and that survival is definitely important. So is quality of life.
Right.
Thank you for
Exactly.
bringing that up.
Exactly. And there's lots of different ways that we can do that. The FDA is giving us a formal meeting script. So we have to follow the way that they run their meetings. If as the host, we have to follow that. But we have opportunities to include additional information. So for example, the room that we're in can have our tributes and our information about our families that our sweet angels and other information about the lived experience of the whole spectrum. And again, as we're picking panelists and speakers, they're going to want to hear from everybody. They're going to want to hear from folks that have, more mild presentations, and they're going to want to hear from folks who have lost their sweeties, and they're going to want to hear from everybody in between. And it's just really important that everybody participates so that we can get the whole picture.
I can just add a little bit on that. When we did our patient listening session, I just want to share with all of you, I shared as a bereaved parent. So they did hear that story from us last time during our patient listening session as well, just so everyone knows. That is something that is on my heart and drives my urgency, as you all know, being a bereaved parent here. So if we have an opportunity to share that story in a different way, that's definitely a priority for me and for our organization.
That's right. And everything that we're doing that Jeff described, all of the efforts that are underway with research, if we shave 1 year off this process and can save one life, that is worth every single little bit that we're putting into this. Well, it sounds like we might have 10 minutes to let people go. Actually, you know what? Stay on this call, open up the CRID, and create a CRID. Take this 10 minutes to create a CRID. Oh, and Morgan's quick with the link right there in the chat. Literally takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've got one question for you, or
Yeah,
maybe
please.
an idea. Does the FDA, will they allow video testimony? Like if we had a compilation of all of our stories from all of, because I know that we did something similar to that at the conference, but if we created a project where we captured as many stories between now and October 23rd, will they accept that type of format?
Yes and no. Yes, absolutely. We are doing that, and we will find a way to get it in. Whether or not the video makes it into the formal part of the meeting, or whether it's played at lunchtime and at registration and just on a loop, and they're seeing it that way, and we're putting it on our website, that will be determined a little bit by how much we can fit into the amount of time that they give us for each category. But what they mostly want to do is hear from families. And so when I first started nodding yes to the beginning of your question, you were asking about the video compilation, but the video testimony is possible. So you don't have to attend in person for even just one family to share their story. And then for the compilation, we'll have to figure out exactly how we can get it in, but absolutely. And I've done that with other groups, and we've absolutely been able to get that in.
Are they allowed to have like with their materials that you present? Like, so could you have a hyperlink to the video testimonies, or could you have, I mean, I'm thinking old school thumb drive, but
Yeah,
could you have something more modern that would, so if they wanted to reference it outside the scope of the meeting to go back and look at, that they could do that?
absolutely. Yes. And that's another thing, that even things that can't quite get into the meeting itself under the very tight window can make it into that voice of the patient report, and will always be available for them to reference.
So if you did a virtual drag, so if you took the dragonfly study and turned it into a virtual living, walking mosaic.
I'm open to all suggestions, and this is just such an incredibly creative team of sharing stories. They know they know the families so well, and they know how to present the stories in a really engaging and creative way. That's a priority that
I
I've
can
seen since being
Well,
here.
I can see Jen's wheels turning right now, and I
Yeah.
think I'm following your lead. Let's talk about this, because I also want to talk to you about the siblings. I think that Melody brought up a great point, that siblings can be give very powerful testimonial,
Yes.
and so
I
that
have
might.
one that's only looking at neuroscience degree seeking fields right now.
So that
It's
is a
amazing.
mission moment right there.
Yes, yes. And I have to say, I was thrown into rare disease advocacy because I'm a rare disease sister. And so I have a special place in my heart for the siblings, because they carry all the passion, but they also oftentimes don't have the same day-to-day challenges that the caregivers have that can limit their time or their ability to get the mission done. And so I special place in my heart for siblings. Send your neuroscience seeking child to me, and my favorite thing in the world to do is networking and connecting people. So please send them my way so we can get them hooked up with some really great
Thank you.
professionals. Sure thing. But I will say what Leah's referencing, I didn't share on this meeting, but I attended a different PFDD meeting, and it was just all virtual. And I'll admit, I was so engaged. I was listening. I was hanging on every word, but I was also fidgeting, right? There's only so long you can sit still on a Zoom meeting, and I was kind of like, I was playing with like a fidget toy or something. And all of a sudden, there was an unscripted, like preteen sibling that got on the call, and they weren't intending to get on the call. They were literally sitting next to their parent, and the parent kind of turned the computer and the child spoke. And when I can just tell you how my body froze and hung on every single word that young woman said, and how powerful her testimony was, especially because it was unscripted. But it was so pure, and it was just so real. I couldn't stop listening to her. She was amazing.
It's,
And so we just really made that. I was texting Leah, I'm like, we got to make sure we
yeah.
get the siblings in
Well,
on
we've
this.
got some great siblings.
Yeah.
We have a hand raised here. Ignacio?
Yeah, hello, how are you doing? My name is Ignacio Lugones. Well, I have a couple of reasons for being here. I'm a father of two twin daughters suffering from SCN2A mutation, loss of function. Both autistic, 13 years old. One of them is nonverbal, the other one is verbal. They were born prematurely, very prematurely, less than 1 kilogram. And well, I could say they are doing well. At the same time, I'm a doctor. I'm a congenital cardiac surgeon. Nothing to do with with neurology or genetic syndromes, but I deal with many of my patients have genetic syndromes, but I do cardiac surgery. I practice, I'm the head of the unit of cardiac surgery in Children's Hospital of Buenos Aires, but I also work for Long Island University in New York. Okay, so I come back and forth. So, and there, we started working on this topic, which touches not only my academic interest, I would say, but also my personal interest. So we have at Long Island University, we have a center that is called Center of Excellence. And what we do is basically in silico tests and in silico technology. So I started working with one of my colleagues who is on joining us today in this call. And my question would basically be, how does this, sorry? Oh, no, my question was, we are not that familiar to how the foundation supports research, okay? Basically, what we are doing is we have already built the model of the SCN2A channel, and we have tested the most frequent mutations, especially the loss of the gain of function, okay, in a software which is called Biovia. Sorry that it might take a few minutes to explain what we are doing, but I see that we have time. So
everyone's hanging on every word. Yes, please continue.
okay, well,
You're doing great.
Well, the idea is that we are studying this. We have no, I would say, special support to do this. We are doing this because I love the topic, and my colleague has the skills to do that. So we are doing an interesting job, but we are trying to look for funds or looking for ways to get our research funded and help from patients, families, and everyone. We still don't have results because we started with this results with these studies some months ago, but we are doing great progress, and I think that we are in a I would say new line of research, because what we do is computational models, and we can test drugs, we can test repurposing of drugs. In fact, I have as a doctor, I have treated my patients with some medications that are usually off-label, for example, propranolol, and which has changed the lives of my kids, especially regarding tantrums, for example. I found that because of the clinical picture that they showed, and I found some issues, some particular uh, manifestations, and I started treating them with this drug, which is a cardiac drug, and tantrums were reduced in a really important way. So uh, now we started with this project, and I would like to understand whether the foundation supports this kind of research or can help us in any way to do something.
Yes, the answer is yes. Now, do you know a Dr. Jose Francisco?
No, I don't know him.
Okay, I
No.
met this doctor at the American Epilepsy Society conference from Buenos Aires, and he was telling me about his twin patients. So I was just wondering if it was
Well,
you.
Francisco, what's the surname?
I don't know. I just that's all I have.
Villavedra?
Yes,
Villavedra, maybe?
yes, yes.
Yes, well, he's a friend of mine.
Okay, that's who I
In
met.
fact,
Yes.
the twin girls are my daughters.
I figured. I mean, I figured
The
that had
world
to
is too
be.
small.
What a small world. Okay, so this is I would love to connect with you offline about this, but the short answer is yes. We're very interested. Your friend convinced me that we need to have a conference in Argentina. So it's on our
Fantastic.
list of things that we would love to do.
Well,
Yeah.
now you have two reasons.
Yeah. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I would love it if you could reach out to
Okay.
me, and I
Yes.
will connect you with Jeff as well to talk about other
Fantastic.
opportunities for funding. Thank you.
Fantastic.
And I'm
Okay.
so glad that you
It's a
came to the
pleasure.
call.
Thank you very much. I couldn't lose it. Thank you.
Yes. Um, Jeff, do you have anything you want to say now about this?
I mean, yeah, we're really happy to find out what you're up to, and can definitely find ways to support your work and connect you to other researchers who might be working in similar space, and see if there's avenues for potential funding. So thanks for piping in.
Collaboration
Thank you
across
very much.
borders, even better.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we are at the end of the hour and we are so grateful. That was a lot of information, a lot of QR codes. We will be sharing the recording of this probably tomorrow in the group, and we'll also email it out to everyone that registered. Thank you again for being here, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.